Don't let the title fool you. This episode is for everyone, not just sales professionals. I want you to imagine a race car and the beginning of a race. The race car sit there idling, tuned perfectly. You can feel it. You can feel the energy contained within the car and within all the cars around it. The excitement, the anticipation of the light going from red to yellow to green. And then the explosion of energy once the light goes green. Every car fighting for the same goal, to win. But the one car that you were watching, that you're a part of, that is who you are, is still sitting at the starting line, ready to go, primed. Doesn't need anything, doesn't need a tune-up, doesn't need a review, doesn't need anything. Just won't go. That car can never win the race. The car will forever be relegated to not even a loser, because you can't lose a race you never started, but you also can't win a race you never start. That's what we're talking about today. Welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson. And if you're with me for the first time today, well, thank you very much. You're going to get a hell of a show. And if you are back, you know sometimes what we talk about is a little intrusive and I get a little invasive. So we're going to hit it hard today because one of these topics keeps coming up over and over again. And man, these are close to my heart. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here in the studio. My office is just across the way, and I'm staring at my computer, which is primed and ready for me to implement a lot of what I'm talking about here today. And I didn't want to wait to record any longer, so let's immediately get right into it. I'm going to talk about sales demons. I'm going to talk about dragons guarding the doorway, and I'm going to use a lot of metaphors to explain why people just don't want to sell, and yet they don't understand why they're failing in their business or in their life. And make no mistake, folks, whether or not you are in sales, you are selling something. If you've ever tried to go on a date before, ever seen somebody you like, seen something you want to buy, and remodeled your house, doesn't matter. You are in sales in some way, fashion, or another at some point in your life, and you need these skills. They're not just negotiation skills. Many facets of overcoming things. I'm going to go back to the opening monologue and talk about life is not a race that you lose because someone's beats you. That analogy is good for emotional picture and to drive what really holds us back home, but it's not accurate. The reason being is life is not a race. Sales is not a race to the end, and there's only one winner. Now, there's one person that gets there before everybody else, especially in a team or a sales environment. But the ultimate thing is, if you get to the finish line, you get the same reward as the first place winner. So the trick in life and in sales in general is just not to quit, not to stop before you're done. That's the real critical thing. And that's the one thing that we fail to realize is like, well, everybody else is already doing it, so I might as well just give up. I like to say, if you had $400 in your pocket and you dropped 10, you wouldn't throw the 390 away. I usually use this in relation to New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, things like that. And this will be dropping on, I think, the 15th or 16th of January. At this point, most people have already failed and given up on their New Year's resolutions. Literally have said to themselves, oh, well, didn't make it this year, got too many failed days behind me. I might as well do it next year. There's a few of you out there that have stuck to it and will continue to stick to it. I love seeing these folks in the gym. These are the folks that are in there that have overcome all of the things that hold them back, the intimidation factor, the frustration, and just the general hardness of starting something new in your life. A lot of those people, if you've still made it past the first 2 weeks, you'll still make it. You'll make it all the way. Maybe not. People fall off from time to time. But the same is true with our goals and with our sales goals and with our goals in general in life. But there is a huge reluctance to starting, to actually doing something. They never lose because they never start. You never grow your business because you don't think you're ready, because you don't anticipate what's going on, because you don't have everything in line before you start making sales calls, before you start reaching out to new clients. Well, I've got news for you. That's the equivalent of driving from Florida to California and waiting for every light to be green before you leave Florida. Not going to happen. You're going to have things come up along the way. You're going to learn from things along the way. You're going to have to experience all of these things while you're doing it. You're not going to continue to warm up forever, although a lot of people do. You're going to keep training. Oh, I used to tell myself when I was in outside sales and I would struggle, and I was the ultimate yo-yo at first. I'd have killer months and then I'd have nothing, and I'd have killer months and I have nothing. And when I was struggling, instead of making more calls, I thought, oh, I need some more training. I got to refocus. I got to do this. I got to the point where Des got sick of hearing it and finally called me out one day. She goes, how much more fucking training do you need? How many more times do you need to refocus? You just need to do more of what you already know works instead of waiting for it to happen. And your boss slaps you upside the head with some reality. And that's one thing. When your spouse does it, yeah, it hurts a little more, just for the record. You keep waiting for readiness that never comes. And then you're so committed to preparing, to learning, to testing, to reviewing, to planning, that when all those lights do finally turn green, you don't even notice, and you still don't take advantage of the opportunity. That's the problem. So let's go back to that race analogy, because I want that drilled into your head. What if it never started? What if you guys were sitting there ready to go and it never started? You're warmed up, you're ready, you're just peak performance, idling. It's just awesome. The light turned green and you just don't move. You're not unprepared. You're not scared. You're in a car. Everybody else is running. But what happens? What does that mean? Starting forces results. That's the thing that terrifies people. I really believe this, because you can't lose a race you never run. You can't win a race either, but you can't lose one. You can continue to exist in the same level of mediocrity that you've existed in the entire time. And this is why most people stay exactly where they are in business, in life, and in everything that requires some effort that's outside of our comfort zone. And folks, I'm going to give a shameless plug here for a second. Any of these topics or standards or things that I'm talking about in the podcast, I actually teach, and I have consulting, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what word you want to call it, but I teach sales teams how to succeed and win, whether that's a sales team of one on an entrepreneurial section or your sales team has dropped off. These are active things that not only I engage in every day for my companies, but I teach other people how to engage in and how to overcome that call and sales reluctance on the front side. I can't say my systems are perfect, but I can tell you that they work. So when I'm sitting here talking about this is all stuff that I've learned over the years and overcome over the years through high ticket sales, through low ticket sales, through bids, through estimating. These are just proven strategies that I've used. And I'm still hesitant from time to time to make the calls. I still get that unreasonable fear. I still don't want to reach out and pick up the phone. I don't know why. The difference is that I do it in the same way that I don't want to go to the gym because it's going to hurt. Well, I end up going to the gym because it hurts and then I feel better afterwards. It's the exact same thought process. Don't stay where you're at. If you're listening at this point, you want to break through. You want to step up to that next rung of the ladder. You want to make your goals happen. You want to make your sales goals happen, and you just don't want to feel like you're letting everybody around you down. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because all of this is tied together. And the deeper you go inside your own head, the harder it gets to make those sales calls. The starting line is where the race becomes real. The starting line is the bridge between philosophy and learning and training and execution. Preparation is over once you start. Sales is movement. Sales is exposure. Sales is throwing yourself out there and looking foolish sometimes, which is what a lot of us are afraid of. I'm going to say something that's fairly controversial here, and I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, man, do I want to talk about that? But no, I want to talk about this because there's a lot of sales managers out there that are going to disagree with me. Oh, we need more leads. We need more leads. We got to get more leads in the door. We need more good qualified leads. Well, guess what? All leads suck. All leads cause stress. Uncontacted prospects are stressful. All leads are stressful. The sales part of it is not stressful. It's that pile of cards on your desk, if you guys still use cards, or that 2-contact list in your CRM that keeps popping up every day in front of you and you just don't do anything about it. That's stressful. An untouched prospect is a liability. It is not an opportunity. You don't know what that thing is. All you know is that it screws with your head and it makes it harder to call the more you don't call them. It becomes pressure. It becomes noise. And the more prospects and leads that you get that are untouched become more pressure and more noise. Let that sink in for a minute. I want you sales reps out there to think about this, to think about that doom pile of calls and tell me that pile of cards or that pile of to-do list tasks is not stressing you out right now and that you didn't think about it last night going to bed on a Sunday night. Well, it's Thursday morning, going to bed on a Wednesday night. This is the kind of shit that wakes you up in the middle of the night. This is the kind of stuff that stresses you out. It's not enough prospects. It's deciding for other people what they're going to do and what their decision and what their interest in whatever you have to offer is. It's all of those things that mess with you that you do instead of just contacting them. The sales portion of it's easy because you start to get relief This is pure operational truth that I'm about to tell you. But prospects, they have to be touched so they can be moved forward or removed. And you know what? Removing them is okay. Not everybody's going to qualify for what you do, but you don't know until you ask them. This is not the persuasion portion of sales. This is just qualification and sorting. That initial contact is just to find out if you actually have anything there or not. Once contacted, you're not looking for a yes. You're looking for an answer. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know, piss off, whatever. You need to touch them. You need to get them to tell you what they want and what they need and whether what you have is something that they even qualify for. You're going to move forward with these folks. You're going to move backwards with them, or you're going to get them off your list. But all three of these are okay. It's silence that creates the stress. These answers create calm because a rectified contact is no longer a stress point. So your goal every day should be to burn through that contact list on your computer and on your desk. Get rid of those uncontacted leads and cards. Put them in whatever bucket they belong in. And sometimes that bucket is the trash. That's okay. You can throw them in the trash because you know what? They may not want what you need. They may be a jerk. I don't know. If you have enough of those called and contacted, then one or two that don't qualify doesn't matter. 1,000 that don't qualify doesn't matter. Because honestly, there's very little problem in business or personal today that 20 new clients won't solve, period. Now, that may create some different problems, but trying to service 20 qualified clients that want what you have to offer is a whole different ball game than just trying to guess what's inside that pile of people that are on your desk and in your computer. You need answers. You need resolution to whether or not they're qualified to work with you, period. I'm going to revisit this statement, but call reluctance is making other people's decisions for them, and I don't believe in doing that. I don't believe that we should decide who or what long-term other people are going to do. Oh, well, they don't want what I have to offer. Nah, that's too expensive for them. That's outside of their budget. They are way overqualified for what I'm doing. There's no reason that they would talk to me. I don't understand what they do, so they obviously are not going to work for what I need them to work for. You assume they can't afford it. You assume they're not ready. You assume that you're going to be bothering them. Sound familiar? Any of this sound familiar? This is not humility. This is false control. It's allowing you to continue to wonder, because as long as that list is in front of your desk, in front of you on your desk, you don't have to try any harder. Here's the thing. You don't get to decide for them. You don't get to decide for other people whether your offer is something that they want or they can afford. You have to ask them. The decision is theirs. Your job is simply to ask. The market doesn't punish you for asking. The client doesn't punish you for asking, but it does punish you for assuming, because you can't win a race you don't start. You can't sell a prospect you don't call. You can't win if you don't begin. Now, Flint, I just don't feel confident in my offer. I don't feel confident in making the phone calls. I'm intimidated by these high value, prospect, whatever it is, whatever lie you happen to be telling yourself. You think, man, I need a better script. I need to polish my approach so it's just perfect, so I don't look foolish in front of them. I need to make sure that I've already positioned myself in the market so that they understand that I'm the best thing since sliced bread. How the hell are you going to optimize something you haven't used? You can't refine a process you haven't run. And you have to run it 100 times or 1,000 times, and it'll refine itself the more you do it. It's going to suck at first. That's okay. Statistics say that even if you suck, you're still going to have some success. But patterns don't show up on the first 4 calls. They sometimes don't even show up on the first 400 calls. All that early feedback you get, you're going to make 5 calls and analyze the shit out of it and not do anything. Make 500 calls and analyze what happened. Then you actually have some data to work with. But I'm going to challenge you and say that number's closer to 10,000 calls. And at risk of sounding old school, you could pick up the phone book and call 10,000 people. It'd be a lot of work. You'd only get through about 2,000 of them before you had more work than you knew what to do with. But that's beside the point. Early feedback is a lie, and you can make it look like whatever you want to do. But clarity only comes after an intense amount of volume, after you've contacted just a shit ton of people. Stop trying to optimize a tool you've barely used. It's like saying you're an expert at this brand new software and you never even touched it. Coming back to you're going to suck. Guess what? That's the price of entry into the high-level, high-producing sales rep. You got to be willing to look foolish. You got to be willing to talk to people. You got to be willing to ask questions and have to answer questions that you don't know the answer to. You will not always know what to say. You will sound awkward sometimes. You will stumble over your words, and you will lose deals that you should have won. These are lessons, painful ones, but they're lessons. These are the price that you have to pay. But here's the thing. You'll live. You'll be okay. Looking foolish is not going to kill you. It just means you look a little foolish from time to time. You could look at it as the price of admission, as the tuition, as your college classes in sales, because you can study all the sales theory you want. You're going to learn more in a week of 100 phone calls a day than you will in an entire college education on sales. You'll be a different person at the end of the week if you make 500 phone calls in a week. You don't get better by preparing or studying or anything else. You only get better by doing enough reps, by pushing hard enough that you actually get somewhere. That's the only way you get better. You can't study your way to success in sales. It just doesn't work. You're never ready. Understand, well, I'm not ready. My offer's not perfect. And hell, I don't even know what I'm going to offer some of these people. Entrepreneurs, you tell yourselves this all the time, and it's a lie. I'm everything to everybody. Well, okay, that should be the easiest sale on the planet. But narrowing that down helps a lot. You'll never be perfectly positioned for anything. You're never going to be completely certain, and you'll never be totally ready. It's just a feeling. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't stop you from doing what you need to do. The only cure for feeling uncomfortable about this is action and progress. And remember, let's go back to the race analogy. The race does not reward people for starting perfectly, only finishing correctly. And you don't have to finish pretty. You don't have to finish perfect. You can roll sideways across the finish line and you still finish the race. But it only recognizes people that actually start the race. Because if you never start the race, it doesn't matter. You can't finish it. It's impossible. The thing is that in life, simply to win is to outlast everybody else, to do more than everybody else long term. You don't lose because somebody else gets to your goal first. You lose because you never try to arrive or because you don't do enough to arrive. You lose when you stop. The only advantage to getting to the finish line first in the race of life or sales is you get to enjoy the benefit of that longer. But there is no less benefit for the person that shows up fifth. You just don't get to enjoy it as long before you got to go on to the next thing. Or maybe you do because maybe that's where you want to be. Everybody that finishes is first place. Everybody that finishes gets the same reward. It's not a scaling system. Life is not a scaling system. Sales might be inside of a sales team, might be a scaling system. The person that gets there first might get a bigger bonus. But the person that gets there, period, makes their living, makes their money, gets what they want. You get to print the money that you decide you want. And I refer to this in the title as sales demons. These are the demons that attack us, that attack our brain, that chew on us, that hold us back from doing what we need to do. And you need to learn how to fight these demons. And the only way to fight these demons is action. Long-term, successful action on your part will create success in every area of your life, period. And when you start, so what's the tone? The rising tide lifts all ships. When you start winning and being successful in one area of your life, it translates into every other area of your life. Now, here's another analogy for you. Let's talk about the dragon that's guarding the doorway that you need to walk through. That dragon is not rejection. That dragon is not fear. That dragon is delay. That gate is open. And that prize has never changed. Only the time that you waste avoiding doing the work that you need to do is stopping you from being where you want to be. So I'm going to encourage every single one of you to step up today and call that list. Touch those prospects. I don't care whether you think they're qualified or not. Just reach out to them and ask. Turn those giant piles of question marks that are in front of you in whatever format they happen to be in into answers. Get them off your list or get them moved. Period. That's it. Begin now, today. Turn this off and go take some action. Because if it's not you who's going to make this difference in your life, then who the hell's going to do it? Nobody's going to show up and go, come on, I'm going to drag you along and let you share in my success. And those people that you want to be around, those really successful people, they're not even going to know you exist until you've actually done something. You have to produce something to be able to sit at those tables that you want to sit at. You got to be able to be worthy of being there. And just you showing up and going, man, I'm God's gift to everybody. Well, you saying that's not enough. Get out there and prove it. Get out there and make that happen. I'm going to end it on this. And if you want more of this content, you want more interaction, then like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. There's the button that pops up right now so you can use it. I want you to ask yourself, what happens if you don't do it? What happens if you let that dragon keep you away from that unlocked door, from that open gate? And then I want you to tell yourself what you're going to tell your spouse, what you're going to tell your kids as to why their life isn't what it could have been. You're the only one that can make that happen. You're the only one that can choose to walk through that gate and make your life and their life look the way you want it to. Aren't they worth it? If you are still here, I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step frame with no CRM, no nothing, on how to start having success today, period. Now, if you want to learn how to do this and want some implementation and some help putting it all together, well, shoot me a message for that, because the information is free, but the implementation, that's what I charge for. However, you can take the steps I'm about to give you and start them today, and it'll work, period. First thing you're going to do is you're going to write down 12, 8, and 4. This is the magic number. 12 appointments a week, 8 new clients, 4 follow-ups, period. There's a lot behind that, but that's the magic number. So let me define some stuff that I said earlier. Let me talk about some stuff that you need to do, talk about some standards, and let's get into it, because we are going to have a great time. And I live for this shit, so this is fun. All right, first of all, I did not define touch. I said you had to touch your prospects, you had to touch your lead list, all that good stuff. But I didn't define what that means. Touch means answer. Touch means result. Touch means an attempt and a logged outcome. You can use a piece of paper. You can use a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't matter. Something that you can look at and know if you talk to them. Over the years, I've used notebooks, literally with a piece of paper, write down the client's name, contact, phone number, notes from the call, whatever, and then action items on it. And then when that was done, I went in and made an X on it, and I'd flip back and forth through this notebook. I've done that. I've used Excel spreadsheets. I've used Salesforce. I've used every CRM I'm known to man. You can spend hours working on your CRM and never do a damn thing. So start making the phone calls. You need to touch these people. Your outcomes are simple. Yes, no, not now, wrong person, or no answer. And then you just put it on a list for calling back later the next day or whatever. I like D&Q, which is did not qualify. I track how many dials I make, and I track how many contacts I make, and then I track what they said. And the dials are just simply tick marks. The answers are tick marks, and then everything else gets more specific from there. So this is mechanical. This is not a motivation thing. This is simply, I have a list of 50 people in front of me. I'm going to dial the phone 50 times, and I'm going to call them. Period. That's it. Touch these clients one way or another. I did not give you a daily number. I said 10,000 calls. I said 10,000 cold calls, but I never translate that into what I do today. And 10,000 is a made up number. So let's say 2,000, because I guarantee you do the same thing 2,000 times. You're going to know what the hell you're doing by the end of it. So pick whatever number of dials a day is going to be your minimum. I've done 100. I've done 50. I've done 10. I've done 25. Doesn't matter. Anybody can do 25 calls in a day, dials in a day. Now, if you want to get extra spicy, you can say, okay, I have to make 10 contacts today. Well, then the dials don't matter, because if you first 10 people answer the phone and can make a choice as to whether or not they want to move forward with you, well, guess what? You're done. But 25 dials will usually lead to about 10 contacts. You also can track this by hours. If you have a really long list, and you could sit down and go, okay, well, I'm going to dial the phone for an hour and a half, whatever. Make sure that there's no distractions while you're doing this, period. Whatever you decide, whatever works for you, make it work. Try them. Try different ones. Some people like to just dial the phone and just hammer it out for an hour. Some people like, okay, when I get to 25, I'm done for the day, whatever it is. But whatever it is, you need to pick it and you need to stick with it. So pick it and stick it. Pick it. Stick with it long term, and then do it every day. Because if you don't do it every day and you change it, like you make 25 calls one day, 10 the next day, you dial for an hour, you don't really get a feel for anything that's working and what's not working, because you're doing so much different stuff, you don't have time for that. So stop negotiating with yourself. Pick one. If it's the wrong one, you're only doing it for a week. If it's the right one, you're going to continue doing it because you're going to have some success from it. But if you don't like it, then try another one for a week, and then try another one for a week. Whichever one you like the best, stick with that one. That's the way to make this happen. But again, nothing fancy. Put it on your calendar, set the time aside, put a little flag on your hat that says, don't bother me if you work from home, whatever. This is the time when you sit down and you start selling, period. I don't give you any kind of a script. Here's why I don't like scripts. One, I like questions better because they lead to more conversations. But the problem with scripts that I always found, and I've worked off scripts in the past, but the problem with them is the people at the other end of the phone never know the freaking lines. They don't know what to say. And if they don't say what doesn't fit my script, well, then I don't know what to say and I don't know how to answer it. So you don't need a script. And I said earlier in the podcast, I said that you were going to suck, and that was good. Well, that's okay. But I mean, it doesn't mean you need to get on there and try and be terrible. So you want to ask a question whenever you get on the phone, and whatever it has, you happen to be selling, whatever reason you're calling them. Hey, quick question. Is this a bad time? Hey, is this a terrible time to talk? Ask them a question that gets them engaging. I like to ask questions where they have to answer with no, because they're not used to that. Once they say, well, no, this is fine. Okay, well, I don't know if what I've got is going to be a fit, but I need to ask you two questions. Or are you opposed to me asking you two questions to find out? Well, no. If they say yes, or whatever. I mean, then you can go from there because now you're asking questions. So write down just a couple of questions. You don't need to practice. If you want to practice with somebody, that's fine. I've done role playing in the past. I've taught with role playing in the past. The problem is that with role playing is you feel foolish and it doesn't really make you comfortable with anything. What makes you comfortable with things is actually doing it, especially in sales. One thing I encourage people to do, especially my clients in networking events, is if you are uncomfortable talking to people or going to networking events, well, go to networking events that have nothing to do with the industry into which you sell and practice. Because those leads are not good for you anyway. So it doesn't matter if you fall on your face 100 times, and tell people while you're there. Every client that I've ever had do this has always come out of environments like that with leads because they know people. They know people that are looking, what have you, and the pressure's off. So you end up just naturally talking about what you're doing. Do that a couple of times. You don't need to practice. Same thing with this. Get your questions written down, make your calls with your questions, and see how it works. You'll figure it out. Again, you don't need to wait. Nothing fancy. Just start doing it. Call reluctance is making a decision not to do what you need to do. We all have it. We all deal with it. I want to go a little bit deeper with that. I know I talked about that before, but avoiding the calls, avoiding the rejection is often protecting your identity, not your time. We're afraid of looking foolish. We don't want to feel salesy on the phone. If I get out there and I make the calls and it fails, what the hell? Then my idea was bad and it didn't work. I can't fail. That'd be ridiculous. If I never call, I can pretend that there's money sitting on this desk in front of me. I just haven't found it yet. Sound familiar? The avoidance is protecting who you are. That's the demon. That's the demon that lies underneath the other demons that you're hiding from. It protects you from being vulnerable. And you're really not vulnerable because once you do this enough times, you become freaking bulletproof. Nobody can touch you. It doesn't matter. You don't get your feelings hurt. You smile through all of it. They can be as rude as they want. It doesn't freaking matter. So from that, let's go into this avoidance loop that creates those doom piles in front of you, those long lead lists, those piled of business cards that haven't been called yet. And you know what? As I've been going through this, and since I recorded this podcast a couple days ago and I've been going through my lead list, I thought I was caught up, and holy shit, I found a bunch of leads I never followed up on. I found them in an old notebook that I had gone to a networking event right before Christmas and just shoved them in there. Went on the holiday and crap, I got about 15, 20 leads sitting there. I got to call in the morning and I don't have time to do it tomorrow, but I'm going to, and I'm going to tell every single one of them, man, guess what happened? Because that's going to be my lead into it. I don't know if they're good leads or not, but I'm not going to let them sit around. So this happens. Sometimes accidents happen, but more often than not, we gather the leads and we start feeling good about ourselves. That dopamine gets going and then they start piling up. And then you got too many leads and now you're starting to get more stressed. So this is how they form, and to stop this from happening, you need to break this cycle. You have too many leads before you process them. There's no such thing as too many leads unless you're not doing anything with them. And then too many leads can be too many leads. It's like if you've ever gotten a windfall of a giant list. I have a list of like 21,000 people, all pre-qualified at least by industry. I haven't done anything with it yet, and it's been in my possession for almost a month. It was the holidays. Well, this and that. Bullshit. I didn't know what to do with it because it was so freaking big. I know what to do with it. It'll be processed by the end of the week. Today's Wednesday. Well, I'm recording this on Wednesday. Every one of them will have been contacted or else be scheduled to be contacted before the end of the week. Now, will I call all of them initially? Not necessarily, because I'm going to blast through that list as fast as possible. But I will be touching those leads before the end of the week, every single one of them. So too many leads leads to that doom pile. You don't have a first touch rule. You stack the cards, you restack the cards, you organize the cards, you organize them by color, alphabetically. When you met them, which ones are good leads, which ones are not good leads. And you pull out and you maybe make one phone call and you still have that thing. You don't have a follow-up order. You don't have a follow-up cadence. You don't have a rule. And you're not giving yourself permission to disqualify these leads. Remember, you're not looking for an answer. I mean, you're not looking for a yes. You're looking for an answer. Did not qualify. DNQ is just as important as yes or maybe or later. Now, don't trash those leads, because we're going to talk about in another episode what you can do to add value to other people that you're meeting just because you've contacted these people and you know a little bit about them. That's something else there. So you don't want to throw those in the trash, but you do want to put them into a pile that's just is processed, did not qualify for you or whatever. So your leads are not the problem. Your lack of triage is the problem. And man, you can go online and pull leads up. You can do it in so many different ways. It's ridiculous. Now, some are better than others. We all want more qualified leads, and you pay a lot of money for those. But if you're just practicing, just starting out, you can cold call anybody. So I closed the last segment with encouragement, and I just kind of let it hang, let the pause go there. I want to be more real with you guys. I want there to be more consequences with what happens. Because for me, every day that I don't make phone calls, I feel guilty about it. And guys, I run multiple businesses, but every day that I'm not in the trenches and I don't make some phone calls, I feel like I didn't complete that day. As a result, that list owns me and it controls me because it's occupying way too much mental real estate. And the thing is that it's not the leads that are causing me the pressure, it's the avoidance. Even if I got busy, I still feel like I avoided them because they're still there. They're still giving me that pressure. So that creates a debt in my head that I need to clear. And I'm afraid that I'll let it become a habit. And every day that you avoid those leads or avoid making those phone calls, you're training your brain and your nervous system that avoidance works. This is a terrible loop to be in and a terrible one to break, because now not only does it feel uncomfortable to call the leads, you're going against what your body's telling you. No, wait a minute, this works. We don't need to do this. Do not allow yourself off the hook. Make those phone calls. You don't have to make phone calls at midnight. I wouldn't recommend doing that, although you could wake somebody up and have some fun with that, but that's probably not going to end the way you want it to end. But make some time, set aside some time, and just dial the freaking. And every major decision you've made, a lot of us start those major decisions just we're like, we don't even realize we're doing it. We just start working. I know whenever I've had that happen, I just, all of a sudden I look around and I'm doing whatever the hell it was I needed to be doing because I decided I was going to. It wasn't fanfare. It was just action. Okay, well, I guess this is what we're doing now. So we're going from there. So don't allow your nervous system and your brain to learn that avoidance is a successful pattern, because then you have to break both. But Flint, what if I fail? You're going to fail. There. That's it. So what? Who cares? Nobody fucking cares. Remember the scene from the original Jurassic Park movie where he was sitting at the restaurant with Dennis Nedry? It's been memed 1,000 times. Oh, look, this is Dennis Nedry here. I'm sitting here talking with him. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you failed. They care that you quit. There's some haters out there that might care if you fail, but they're going to hate it even more if you get back up and keep going. So yeah, you're going to fail. But also, failure's data. Failure, again, if you're looking to capture information, failure is good. Your early feedback, always a lie, because you're not good at it. You're still figuring shit out. And you got to make 500 phone calls. I said all this earlier, but I didn't talk about what to track. So I'm going to give you more specific about that. Now, I told you at the beginning of the second segment, you want to track your dials, you want to track your contacts, you want to track the information that came around in the conversation. So in the conversation, here's what you need to write down. And you can do this on notebook paper and put it up. I like notebook paper because I can move fast and go put the data in later. However you track it, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be something that doesn't take a lot of time to document in between calls, because the important thing is the calls. But what you're going to write down after you get done with these calls is who you called, which I usually do that while I'm calling them, what they said, especially if they had an objection, because what you're going to find is you're going to get a list of objections and people use the same ones over and over again. And then what happened? Yes, no, maybe so, did not qualify, whatever they said, whatever you did, write it down. If there's something you could do better, make a note, do that better next time. Leave it at that. This is how you turn your fear into a machine. This is how you take this emotional process and turn it mechanical and use mechanical discipline to build your sales and generate your sales. I'm going to hit this one more time and then we're going to wrap it up. Untouched prospects are stressful. This is now the third time that I've talked about this, but here's the thing. This is the number one reason you're not calling your folks. This is the number one thing that's holding you back and allowing you to not be successful, is you have all these prospects. So you have that dopamine hit that you have the ability in front of you to make it work. But burning that list makes that reality. That lead is poison to your brain until it's touched. And when it's touched, that means you've made an attempt to reach out to them and logged the outcome. It does not mean you shuffled it around, moved it from one pile to another, or anything of that. No outcome. That lead still is poisoning you. That lead still is not giving you any relief. That lead still should be keeping you up at night. You don't need more leads. You need fewer question marks. You need to burn through the leads that you have in front of you already. I hope this helps. I've given you some scripts. I've given you this. If you want all of this written down in a reference where you can just print it off and look at it, maybe stick it on your wall. I've done that before too. Then shoot me a message. I'll be happy to share the one-sheeter with you that has just the basic outline, the basic sales call. I even have a sheet, a grid that I hand draw, which I'll give you one a little prettier than that has the tick marks, that has the hash marks, that has that. I'll give all of that stuff away. And if I can help you guys in any way to overcome this and to become better sales reps long term. Man, I love it. I live for this shit. I think it's so much fun to watch people learn to win and succeed. And if you can sell, you'll never go hungry. You will never go hungry. So I'm going to say it again. If you're still with me, thank you. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, smash the bell, all the crazy stuff that people tell you to do, because you're going to want to see more of this as it's coming up. We talk about whatever the hell I feel like talking about from day to day. And I don't even know what we're going to talk about next week, but it's going to be fun and it's going to be exciting. I love y'all. Have a great weekend, and I hope every single one of you has some success burning those leads. Give us some comments down below. Let me know your wins and your successes, and let me know how scared you were before you started doing this, because we're all there. We've all been there. I want to hear about how you overcame what it is that you needed to overcome. Love y'all.